pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Approval of, by the way, not necessarily for the record, but hear ye, the polls are now closed. In case anybody wants to know. It's 7:30. Approval of minutes. You've all received a copy of the last meeting, and did you have the special in there too? Okay. Minutes, any additions or corrections? Seeing none, they'll stand approved as presented. Approval of the current financial report. You all received a copy of the financial report dated November 1.
Make a motion to accept the financial report.
Motion, Mr. Godwin, to approve the current financial report. Discussion. Call the roll, please.
Godwin.
Yes.
Hensley.
Yes.
Oliver.
Yes.
Rogers. Schmidt.
Yes.
Tryon.
Yes.
I think Ms. Howdeshell is probably working on the board of elections tonight. She'll be in.
That should be a few minutes
available. Approval of the agenda. I have nothing to add or take away from the agenda at this particular time. There are no additions, correct? So you have the agenda.
Move to approve the agenda as it is presented.
Motion by Mr. Schmidt to approve the agenda as presented. Discussion. Call the roll.
Godwin.
Yes.
Hensley.
Yes.
Oliver.
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Schmidt.
Yes.
Tryon.
Yes.
Public hearing. We have nothing scheduled for this evening. Anyone wishing to address council may do so. Please come to the microphone and state your name and address and whatever your situation is. See anyone jumping up? We'll move the agenda to administrative reports. Mr. Mayor.
Just have a few things. I have some information before you in the folders. I just want to bring your attention tonight that it's kind of a unique service in the area. Dog therapy. Dogs go to different homes, people's houses, or different places. Use the folder information for a reference if you like. Anytime you might run into somebody that might need it. I wanted to just bring up the fact that these dogs is kind of a unique thing that they've made 400 visits, therapy visits to people in the community. And we're going to start working as a team. There's two dogs, John and Harley. They're going to start working together to work on 500, which is a big award type title from the AKC Kennel Corporate. I can't even say it. I'll find it here. Yeah, Kennel Club. Yeah, American Kennel Club National Therapy Dog Distinguished Title. So it's kind of a unique thing, and just wanted to recognize them. We'll see how it goes. Kind of wanted to bring it up to a meeting, but we'll think about it maybe next time. So, other than that, there's a few of us had the opportunity to go to the Ohio Municipal League Conference. And one, of course, the biggest discussions were opioids and drug problems, and then state tax collections, where there's a possibility we could see a pretty good loss in revenue for the city and a lot of other cities. So if anybody wants to know more about it, please ask later on. I have a couple of events that are coming up, particularly this Saturday is Veterans Day. Parade on downtown Broadway starts at 11 o'clock. So it'd be a nice one to have a good turnout. Also, the following Saturday, November 18th, will be the annual Holiday Horse Parade. Be the 14th annual event. Starts at 7 p.m. They talked about there's probably over 8,000 spectators for this. It's a pretty big event, even for all over Ohio. So they've done really well. It'll be like 90 entries of lighted horse-drawn carriages, hitches, riders, so it's a big event. So it's been something to see. One other thing I have, we've been talking about it now for a good month or so. A joint meeting for particularly for council joint meetings, CIC, Greenville CIC, and council. That's something we'll probably have to call a special meeting for. It's planned on being held on November 29th. The regular meeting of the CIC will be at 4. And then soon after that, I don't know if, how to determine how long the meeting's going to last, but we'll have the joint meeting then as soon as that meeting's over with, probably 4:45, somewhere in there. It'll be at the hospital in their main conference room. So, and that's to look over the goals that we have for the strategic plan for the CIC, and to maybe develop new ones if we see so fit. And we'll compare those to our mission statement. And there'll be, I talked to Wayne Deschambault today, and he said there'll be a meal available that you can purchase. So
What day is that of the week?
that's
Wednesday,
Wednesday,
the 29th.
normal. That's our normal day, but it'll be changing the time to 4. Any questions on that? And that's all I have, so I pass after that.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Safety Service Director, Mr. Harris.
Thank you, Mr. Council President. I'd like to begin reporting about ongoing projects. The first project to give you a little update about would be the band shell. The construction is complete. The contractor is in the process of completing some minor punch list items, but we expect the paperwork will be turned in at any time, and the contract portion of the project will be complete. Several weeks ago, Council approved an appropriation, an additional appropriation for the band shell project to purchase the accordion door that would go along the front of the band shell. We had the special meeting last week that actually moved some appropriations that allowed us to fulfill that purchase order. That door is now on order, and we expect the installation of that door by the end of the month. As far as the Ohio Street sidewalks, at the last meeting you approved the contract. We already have sidewalks installed on a portion of that project. We expect, if the weather cooperates, that project would be 95% complete by the end of the month. As far as upcoming projects, we have the Donald Drive water line. We had approximately, I believe, 6 bidders for that project, and that project did come in under budget. But as I explained prior to bidding the project, we had to spend additional appropriations on the 4 Schweitzer Street project because the water side of the project was higher, but the sanitary sewer portion of the project was lower. Therefore, we had to spend more than what we had anticipated out of water, but less out of sewer. When it came to the Donald Drive water line, it meant that there would not be enough money appropriated in order to fulfill the engineer's estimate. This council, in light of that information, still gave me the approval to bid the project with the understanding that we would need to appropriate additional monies prior to awarding the contract. Therefore, there are 2 pieces of legislation. The first piece for consideration regarding this project is to provide supplemental appropriations in what we call the 35 account line, which is the. And then the second piece of legislation for consideration is the approval of that contract to Frenfrock Construction out of Covington. Frenfrock has bid on several of the city projects. However, they have never been awarded a project. They have checked out their references. They've worked mainly in Miami County. They do a lot of work for Tip City and Piqua. And the best way I could summarize the references, Tip City and Troy stated that they absolutely prefer Frenfrock to do their construction projects, just as I would probably give that same recommendation if someone called me about Broombach Construction. So I was very excited about that and have no apprehension about recommending FinFrock for that project. Any questions about ongoing or upcoming projects? Okay, moving on. I have listed 3 upcoming projects. I've broken them out separately, and this is due to the fact that council has made a prior decision to group these projects together, and we would seek financing to complete the projects. The first project that I want to talk about this evening has to do with the dispatch consoles, a 911 call center, server upgrades, and some renovations to the annex building for this dispatch project. We have held a committee, or there was a committee assignment to hear the administration's recommendations as far as quotes received for the equipment. That committee assignment was completed, and it is before you for consideration this evening. So my report is an antithesis Zetron, is that the 911 call center is just that. It is a call center. It is like the brains of the operator, the old phone operator, that our entire phone system would be run through this new call center. But in order to do that, we need to purchase additional phone equipment, and that additional equipment is $40,049. And then there's some additional equipment needed as far as the server room, and that is a total of $5,700. And as you are well aware, as I've talked about for several weeks, there was a roof leak, and it caused some damage to the records/dispatch area. There are some renovations that need to be complete. We would also like to purchase 2 new desks for the console equipment, and that would be at a cost of $19,000, understanding that the street department would complete all of the construction/renovations. That brings us to a subtotal of $297,977.76 with a 10% contingency. That gives our console project a total of $327,775.54. Any questions? Or would you like to reserve questions until we get to the committee assignment?
Wait till the assignment.
Pardon?
Wait till the committee report.
Can do that. If you would turn the page. Last week, we opened the bids for the city HVAC project. Boyard Heating and Air was the winning bid. Their base bid was $434,843. The permits for the project payable to Miami County Building Regulations would be $3,484. The city would be responsible for testing at the end of the project. This is to make sure that we have adequate airflow as the project was designed to have. This would be performed by an independent tester. The budgeted amount for that testing would be $10,000. And then there's a $10,000 contingency of $43,500 for a total job cost of $491,827. And that is again for the HVAC project. Any questions on that?
Did all the bidders have a 10% contingency?
We put the contingency on
All right.
after we see what the final bids are. Because as it was bid, the engineer's estimate at I believe it was around $550,000 included a 10% contingency. And then the roof repair, or the new roof for the annex, the base of that contract was $75,056 with a 5% contingency of $3,750 for a total project cost of $78,806. There were just a point There were 2 bidders for the HVAC, and there were 2 bidders for the roof bid. And then at the bottom, you can see for the total bond, all 3 project costs are added up for an overall project cost of $898,408.54. Bring this before you this evening. We have not secured the bond at this point. We need to move forward. If we're going to move forward with these projects, we need to move forward with securing the bond. We should have financing in place before we award the contracts. So I would like to be able to complete that in the next 2 weeks and bring you the appropriate legislation at the next council meeting.
Question on the roof repair. Is that going to be maintained as a flat roof, or are we going to put a little more elevation in it so that we don't have water puddling up there?
Right. The construction process is that the old roof and subdecking will be removed down to the flat concrete roof deck. At that point, what we call sand mix concrete will be pumped and poured on top of the existing roof deck. And the reason that we're using, we call it flowable fill, is so that we can form the subroof to accommodate the 4 roof drains that are existing. That roof is broke up into 4 quadrants. We will pour concrete in such a way to create enough slope that the water gets away. And then the rubber membrane will be placed on top of the concrete roof deck. And we were told that by the manufacturer, we will have like an R20 insulation factor.
What?
An R20.
Okay.
Questions?
Is there any guarantee on how long that roof will last?
20-year roof.
20 years?
It's a 20-year. But if you know much about roof warranties, good luck.
Limited lifetime.
Yeah.
The tree fell through there.
Yeah.
Checks the bill.
So, how would you like to proceed?
With this particular item here on the bond,
Yes.
well, I think we can place that on hold and see how this, after the committee report is read. If you need to speak to it later on in that time, you certainly may.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you. Any other questions about that? We'll move on. The next item, again, a few meetings ago, I brought up the topic of a tornado siren in the industrial park. That topic was brought before you because of a manufacturer in the industrial park was concerned of the fact that there was no siren and inquired as to what they would need to do to have a siren installed. At that point, the fire chief, it was his idea to solicit other manufacturers in the industrial park to see if they had the same concern, and if they did, would they be willing to contribute to the installation of the siren? As the city council had already appropriated $12,500 towards a $25,000 project. I think I wrote down 22, it's actually 25. We had appropriated half. So this council agreed that it would be a good idea if the fire chief sent out letters to all the manufacturers. Fire chief did that, gave them approximately 30 days to respond back. We received one response. Well, we received 2 responses, and we've actually received 2 donations in the amount of $3,075. So we still have a deficit of approximately $9,500 to reach our $25,000 goal. I think my math is off there a little bit. It really doesn't matter at this point. The question is, how would council like to proceed? Would they like to proceed? Do you feel that it's a concern that there is no tornado siren in the industrial park? And I guess the question at this point is, would you be willing to appropriate more money to make up the difference? If we're not going to move forward with the project, we'd most likely give the money back to those who have already donated.
Well, in light of what's happened in Salina this week, I think it's a must that we have that. I'm not sure, do we have that extra to take from general fund or wherever it might come from?
This late in the year, I know the appropriations was approved for so much that, and nothing's gonna be done real quick, that those appropriations would carry next year, the money's gonna be there. And I think when you look at the budget for next year, probably the best thing would be to just put the whole project in for a CIP request for next year. I think that'd be a more prudent way, and to look at the entire thing instead of looking here at the end, trying to figure out, move some monies around. That might be the best option. That'd be acceptable.
We can carry that donation over, can't we? Whoever contributed to it.
We can.
And they probably wouldn't be able to be installed before the first of the year anyway, would it?
Could install it in the spring
Yeah.
before tornado season.
Yeah.
Because we
Well-
have, when it's all said and done, I don't know if you have figures on the number of employees out there, but it's considerable.
Sure, absolutely.
And I think it's prudent that we make sure that they get warning as well. So,
There's a possibility, I think, that there could be some money come in. Several of those places had to contact their corporate in order to receive money, so I don't know, I'm not saying there will, but it's possible, I guess.
Well,
If we have more
30
time.
days is kind of quick for a corporation to respond, I think.
Well, I don't think you should count on a corporation for the donations. I mean, it's a city service. The individual households and other corporations didn't contribute for all the other ones we've got. I wouldn't expect to have that for the corporations out there. They're already paying a premium on their taxes, and if they weren't there, we wouldn't have the population we have. And we sure don't want to lose that population.
So I have your commitment to move forward with this project in
Yes.
2018.
Put it in the budget, yeah.
Okay. Then the next topic would be a follow-up with new windows for the police annex. I believe I reported to you at the last meeting that I had received one bid from Greenville Glass. That bid was in excess of $32,000. It was determined that we should seek at least one other bid. I reached out to Him Glass and Piqua, and you can see that their bid for the same windows and doors was $19,785. After further conversation with Greenville Glass, they were able to lower their price to $22,500. I guess this is another one of those projects where it's not imperative that it's done immediately. Is this something that, however, it is a project that does not meet the threshold of making it a CIP submission.
That's not part of the construction bond.
The determination, the last conversation we had on that topic was that because of the dollar amount, we were not going to place that in the bond. I guess if you can only change that decision, but that was the prior conversation.
When is the roof going to start taking place?
When we get the bond approved and I can approve the contract and we can.
So we're talking a couple months,
Well, I hope not. I mean, it's something I really want to.
but not till after the first of the year?
I mean, it could be before that. Just depends on how quick this body makes decisions.
How much will the weather impact that?
The what, the roof?
Yeah.
If it's nice weather, we can
mean,
get
they
in
can
and
go-
get it done.
If and buts, candy and nuts, every day would be Christmas. I was just, the reason I was asking is this something that, again, could be put on the budget for next year in the CIP?
Well, it does not meet the CIP threshold.
So, okay,
Could it be put in the 2018 budget? It could, but it also, it's a big enough item that will affect our bottom line of our 2018 budget as we look at making the budget balance.
So just to refresh our memories, what was reasoning for not including it in the bond?
I think the biggest thing was the dollar amount. that we
it's under
felt that it-
25,000.
Well, yeah, I mean, when we originally talked about it, it was 32,000, but because of that dollar amount, I'm not going to put words in your mouth, but to summarize, I think the decision was because of the low dollar amount, the budget or the appropriations could handle it, and I think also speak for the auditor, I think, we want to watch the dollar amount that we're financing.
I'll defer to the auditor. You think it's something we should look at real quick and come out of the general fund this year or for the budget next year?
If you decide you want it, yes, I would say just take it out of the general fund.
Okay.
And we could still do it this year.
Then you'd have legislation prepared for the next meeting?
We could do that next meeting, couldn't we?
Yes.
I mean, I have the proposal, it'll just be a matter of sending that to the law director and having it submitted for the next meeting.
Okay.
And we would have to have some sort of a supplemental appropriations to
Right.
do that.
Well, the sooner it's done too, the more cost savings there is as far as heating and air.
That is true. Well, probably more heating than air.
Probably.
Right.
Okay, last topic. Mark Beakey, who resides, I believe, in Columbus, submitted to Chad Henry an email stating that he has a parcel of property that is located at the intersection of Children's Home, Bradford Road, and Wagner Avenue. And this is a 10-acre parcel. And I've given you a map. In front of you, you can see at almost the center of the map, it has the detention pond that says the city of Greenville. And you will notice to the right along Wagner Avenue, there's a line that runs down the center of the road to the center of the intersection. And then it also goes down the center of Children's Home Bradford Road. And that is separated by, separated by the detention pond to make it up its own separate parcel, kind of in an upside down L. Does everyone see that on their map?
Yep.
Okay. When this area was platted several years ago, for whatever reason, the city of Greenville did not take ownership of that particular parcel. So technically, I guess Mr. Beakey owns half the road, or the Beakey Trust. And he does not receive a tax bill, or it has zero taxable value because it is road right-of-way. However, he is charged $3 each half, or the trust is charged $3 each half for a total of $6 a year for a drainage ditch assessment. He would like to not be billed $6 a year by the county auditor and just have the city of Greenville own that property, which was most likely the intention back when. It was just an oversight. However, there may be some fees that need to be incurred to write a legal description and make that transfer happen. For $6 a year, Mr. Beakey does not want to spend money to have an engineer write that legal description. So he is asking that if there are any fees involved with that transfer, would the city of Greenville be willing to incur those fees?
What's the estimate on those fees?
I'd have Mr. Bergman write a legal description, I don't know, a couple $100.
Maybe.
maybe.
You may actually have to do the survey work than what you had.
Yeah.
Yeah, he-
$1,200, $1,500.
Yeah.
I don't-
Well, in either case, it probably should have been property of Greenville. How long ago are we talking when,
92.
4.
90?
The original plat that he
Okay.
emailed me said 94.
So we'll forgive the mistakes of the past and let's just move forward and accept this offer from Mr. Beakey and put it back where it probably should have been, always in the first place.
This was all done very quickly because of the Whirlpool deal, and I mean, that land had been marketed for a long time. It was all farmland, but because of the construction of the roadway and the fall of the land and not being able to put undue burden onto neighboring lands, we had to slow the water down. And I know at that time, Mr. Beakey, this was the proposal that came up with that. He gave up a prime corner of real estate that could have been marketed for business to put that retention pond there. And I can't believe it slipped through like that. But everything was done very quickly at that time and point to be able to retain Whirlpool here. So I concur that, whatever the cost is, we'll have to face the burden, and I would propose that we do it. Again, we need legislation on that for the next meeting.
Well, I don't know if it'll be the next meeting, but we'll start the process.
Yeah.
But do you need legislation to move money?
No, I would
Okay.
use the planning and zoning department with their line item of professional services.
Okay.
If there are no further questions, pass.
Okay, thank you, sir. Law Director, Mr. Brand.
Well, thank you, Mr. Burgett. I just wanted to advise that I will not be here at the next meeting. There's a little boy in the Chicago area who isn't sophisticated enough to know that being around me isn't really much fun, and he would like me to attend Grandparents' Day, so I'm going to be there.
Hey,
With that, I pass.
awesome.
And City Auditor, Mrs. Wellman.
Thank you, Mr. Burkett. First of all, I want to give you an update on the 2018 budget. We've been working on it since the beginning of October. We're hoping to meet with the Finance Committee sometime this month, and Mr. Tryon, I'd like to get with you after the meeting to set a time for us to meet. And then hopefully we can bring the budget forward to the entire council next month. At least that's the plan, so.
We would need a committee of the whole then to review it.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. So we'll be giving you more details as we go along here, but that's the time frame that we're hopefully looking at this point. And lastly, I wanted to inform you, I was informed earlier this week that one of our longtime employees, 38 years to be exact, employees of the auditor's office, Mrs. Penny Strasser, has informed us that she plans to retire at the end of the month. So we will definitely miss her. We're going to have a lot of knowledge and attention to detail walking out the door. So, but we did want to let the citizens of Greenville know that we do have an opening. It will be civil service tested, and we will give you more details as we get a date set. So keep that in mind. And with that, sir, I pass.
Okay, thank you. Under committee reports, we have one out of the safety committee to review easement and dispatch, estimates, dispatch for consoles, make a recommendation to council.
A report dated October 31st, 2017. Honorable members, we hereby submit our report. The Safety Committee met on Monday, October 23rd, 2017 to review the estimates for dispatch consoles and make a recommendation to council on the purchase. The committee discussed the different options noting there was an approximate $34,000 difference between the Zetron Max and Motorola MIP 5000 system. The committee discussed that the Zetron Max system included a phone system that could be used in the city building. IT manager Francis was planning to change the city's phone system on the 2019 budget, which would cost approximately $30,000. The committee felt the increase in cost was worth going with a better system, which had more to offer and included a phone system. The committee recommends the city moves forward with a Zetron Max system for use in dispatching and that the necessary legislation be prepared. The respectfully submitted Committee on Safety, Chairman John Hensley, Vice Chairman Clarence Godwin, and Member Leon Rogers.
Move to accept the committee report.
Motion by Mr. Schmidt to accept the committee's report. Discussion. Call the roll, please.
Godwin,
Yes.
Hensley,
Yes.
Oliver,
Yes.
Rogers,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Tryon.
Yes.
Is that legislation prepared?
No,
Okay,
because we do not have financing in place. That's why,
okay,
for the discussion of the bond.
bingo, all right. So that will go over now that the committee's report is, and if we get the financing in place, then we'll proceed with that. That's all under committee reports, ordinances, and resolutions. We have 3 to consider tonight versus the supplemental appropriations ordinance.
An ordinance to make additional appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures of the City of Greenville, State of Ohio during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2017. This ordinance authorizes appropriations to the Sewage Disposal Fund for equipment maintenance wastewater in the amount of $25,000. These funds are needed for expenses in excess of budget for 2017. Department head salaries wastewater in the amount of $14,000. These funds are needed to cover the additional cost of an interim wastewater superintendent in 2017. And to the Waterworks Surplus Fund. And there is a change on this. For capital improvements waterworks surplus, in the amount of $102,000, $102,400. These funds are needed for the Donald Drive water line replacement project.
Motion to suspend the rules, give the ordinance read by title only for second, third time.
Mr. Tryon to suspend the rules, read the ordinance by title, second, third time. Discussion. Call the roll.
Godwin,
Yes.
Hensley,
Yes.
Oliver,
Yes.
Rogers,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Tryon.
Yes.
An ordinance to make additional appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures of the City of Greenville, State of Ohio during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2017. An ordinance to make additional appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures of the City of Greenville, State of Ohio during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2017.
Move to adopt.
Motion by Mr. Oliver to adopt the ordinance. Please note the arrival of Mrs. Howdy Shell at this particular time. We are voting on adopting the ordinance on supplemental appropriations, item 1 under ordinances and resolutions. Mr. Oliver. Discussion? Call the roll, please.
Godwin,
Yes.
Hensley,
Yes.
Hottishell,
Yes.
Oliver,
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Tryon.
Yes.
Next, we have an ordinance for transfer ordinance.
An ordinance for the transfer of funds among the appropriations of the various funds of the City of Greenville. This ordinance allows a transfer to the general fund from PERS, Workers' Comp, and FICA Police Department in the amount of $33,250, and Healthcare Police Department in the amount of $15,400. to regular police salaries police department in the amount of $48,650. This transfer is needed to cover additional officer overtime in 2017 and police chief retirement payouts. Also from healthcare police department in the amount of $9,600 to department head salaries police department in the amount of $9,600. This transfer is also needed to cover overtime in 2017 and police chief retirement payouts. And from Whirlpool Agreement income tax in the amount of $20,800 to PERS Workers' Comp and FICA income tax in the amount of $800 and refunds income tax in the amount of $20,000. This transfer is needed to cover benefit costs for a new part-time employee and to cover refunds for the year 2017.
Make a motion to suspend its rules on this ordinance and read it by title only, second and third time.
Mr. Godwin, to suspend the rules, read the ordinance by title, second, third time. Discussion. Call the roll, please.
Godwin,
Yes.
Hensley,
Yes.
Hottishell,
Yes.
Oliver,
Yes.
Rogers,
Yes.
Yes.
Tryon.
Yes.
An ordinance for the transfer of funds among the appropriations of the various funds of the City of Greenville. An ordinance for the transfer of funds among the appropriations of the various funds of the City of Greenville.
Move to adopt the ordinance?
Motion by Mr. Rogers to adopt the ordinance. Discussion? Call roll.
Godwin.
Yes.
Hensley.
Yes.
Pettichow.
Yes.
Oliver.
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Schmidt.
Yes.
Tryon.
Yes.
And finally, we have a resolution to accept the bids for Donald Drive Waterline Project.
A resolution accepting the bid for Donald Drive Waterline Project. This resolution accepts the bid from Thin Frock Construction Company Incorporated for the waterline and related work along Donald Drive.
Move to suspend the rules, give this resolution reading by title only, second, third time.
Mr. Rogers to suspend the rules regarding resolution by title, second, third time. Discussion. Call the roll, please.
Godwin.
Yes.
Hensley.
Yes.
Pettichow.
Yes.
Oliver.
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Schmidt.
Yes.
Tryon.
Yes.
A resolution accepting the bid for Donald Drive Waterline Project. A resolution accepting the bid for Donald Drive Waterline Project.
Move to adopt.
Motion by Mr. Oliver to adopt the ordinance, or resolution, correction. Discussion. Call the roll.
Godwin.
Yes.
Hensley.
Yes.
Pettichow.
Yes.
Oliver.
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Schmidt.
Yes.
Tryon.
Yes.
And finally, that concludes our resolutions. Now, nothing under old business. We do have an item under new business from the Division of Liquor Control. Transfer permit from Hot Rods and Harleys on Russ Road to M&M Adventures LLP, doing business as Sloopy's on same address.
A letter dated October 20th, 2017. Dear Clerk, I have no objection to the liquor permit, which belongs to Hot Rods and Harleys LLC at 1240 Russ Road in Greenville, Ohio, being transferred to the permit for M&M Adventure LLP, doing business as Sloopy's at 1240 Russ Road in Greenville, Ohio. If you have any questions, please contact me, Chief Steve Strick.
Okay. Our options are to request a hearing or not request a hearing.
Motion to not request a hearing.
Motion from Mr. Tryon to not request a hearing on this issue. Discussion. Call the roll, please.
Godwin.
Yes.
Hensley.
Yes.
Pettichow.
Yes.
Oliver.
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Schmidt.
Yes.
Tryon.
Yes.
Wow. Got through that pretty well. Items of communications.
Monthly reports were received from the following departments: Fire Department, Income Tax Department, Police Department, and Transit Department. A Cities and Villages magazine was received from the Ohio Municipal League. Letters of appreciation were received from Janice Mills and Janelle Cross for their attendance and lunch at the health fair. And an electronic petition was received regarding the bike racks downtown. These communications have been distributed to council.
Just on a note regarding a petition, I think it was just signatures in support. We do not accept petitions electronically. We only accept them in the auditor's office as noted and signed in or stamped as the date of arrival and time of arrival, and they must be originals. They cannot be copies. So what you received electronically was just a matter of showing you, I guess, support and not really a petition as such. So I think that should be noted. With that, we'll call down the council.
Godwin.
Well, it looks like everybody's out voting today. And good luck to the people that are running for city council. And with that, I'll pass.
Hensley.
I'll pass.
Pettichow.
I want to thank everybody for going out and voting today for everything that was on the ballot. In our precinct, it was pretty good turnout. I hope it was everywhere else. And with that, I pass.
Oliver.
Well, congratulations to somebody out there. Don't know exactly which ones I should pat on the back, but again, congratulations for everybody for coming up to the plate and running for an office. Win, lose, or whatever, you know, it says something when someone's willing to go that far. I'd also like to take a moment to say There's a lot of nice little things around town now. The park bike walkway area that's being completed. The band shell looks great. I really want those accordion doors up before someone tries to tag it. North Ohio sidewalks, very pleased to see the work being done, and it should almost be completed, right? But anyway, it's good to see these improvements. With that, I shall pass.
Rogers?
Well, there's probably two people in this room that probably can say they won, and that's Mr. Workett and Mr. Willman. Well, congratulations.
That was a tough race.
That was a tough one.
I'm sure they
Pass.
voted for themselves.
Mr. Schmidt?
I will pass.
Gracious.
Mr. Tryon?
I'd like to make a comment on the fire chief report that was sent out. I like the way that it was reconfigured and the narrative that went with it. It was actually a lot more pleasant to read and comprehend. On the questions that earlier on the bond, is there any other action we need to take on that now? Or basically what was presented tonight for the figures is what we're gonna go for the bond?
That's up to you. There were, one of the points that I wanted to make.
I knew you weren't done talking, that's why I
Well,
brought it up.
and it was just really hard without having approval and what direction we should go. Kind of like the same conversation that we had on the windows because of the dollar amount. And we wanted to really, I don't want to say limit, but control the bond amount and not let it get out of hand. If there were items, we'll call them miscellaneous items that we needed to take out of the budget, there was conversation that we would do that. So as we talk about the consoles and the miscellaneous items that go along with like server room upgrades of 5,700 and the dispatch records, $19,000 for some construction work and furniture and things like that. You know, is that stuff you wanted to roll into the bond, or did we want to take that out of, did we want to budget for those items, whether it's this year or next? And then as far as, you know, we wanted to be fairly close on that the bond amount would be what we're spending on the contracts. On each of these, I've budgeted in a contingency. A contingency is just that. We may or we may not use that amount. So the 898,408 includes contingency money. I don't really want to put us in a position where we're borrowing money that we're not using. We don't need to borrow our own money back to have it sit in our bank account. So the conversation that I wanted to have was, you know, what exactly do you want the bond to include?
Well, I would defer some of this to the auditor, because in reality, this either should have been probably maybe a committee assignment ahead of time or a proposal by the administration to us. You know, what you're bringing up are very good points, and before I say anything more, I'd like to know what the auditor's thoughts are on it.
Well, we originally started talking about this, a number of months ago? I can't remember exactly when, and we went to bond counsel at that point in time and said, we want approximately this much money, and they put out to several of the local banks, and they came back and we got some responses back from 2 of the local banks. At that point, we realized that we really didn't know how close we were as far as how much we needed, and so we needed to go out and bid it. And I really wanted us to not be asking for more money than what we really needed. And that's why we went and did the bids and took the extra time that we needed. So what you're showing right now with the contingencies is about as close as we can get on this. So it's what I would recommend at this point that we move forward with.
Well, my personal feelings are, especially on the contingency monies, that money should probably be appropriated out of the general fund to the CIP and withheld. Again, we're borrowing money to put back in our own bank account that we may have to use, that's not a good, wise thing to do. And I can see that. As far as the upgrades at the building with the desk and if there's something that's there that's got a life expectancy probably of more than 5 years, maybe it makes sense. But if it's not, or if it's something the city can do on its own through the street department or whatever, maybe have them do it. And
But there would be chargebacks.
yeah,
So I hear you. So there's two things that I'm trying to accomplish tonight. One is that we can determine how much money we want to borrow in the form of a bond. But two, I want this council to be fully aware of what the overall project cost is.
yeah.
So I've included these incidentals and I've included a contingency so that there's an understanding of, okay, this is what the total project is going to cost.
What kind of interest is on that?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
What kind of interest?
Pardon?
Interest.
What was the interest on the bond? What was the rate?
Let's see,
Yeah.
I can get back with.
It was a 10-year, a
It was a
little over.
10-year bond.
It was over 4% though.
I was thinking 3.75 or.
Okay, I thought it was 3.25, or 4.25, but I don't.
It's under 4, I believe, so.
Okay.
Explain this to me then. 3 separate projects, we got the total bid price. Obviously, we're not gonna have them all come in at the same time. I mean, you said, we'd like to start on this roof as soon as possible. This 898 figure is probably basically worst case. I mean,
Correct.
if it comes in without, with the contingency built in, if we come in closer to 800, do we have to have that bond written for that?
Yeah,
Full amount?
you're borrowing the money on the front end and you're writing a bond, so
mean,
you're gonna pay
you're
that
committed to it.
interest, whether you pay the bond off early or not, you're gonna pay whatever that amortized
So
interest
we're gonna
schedule
be committed
is.
to that full
Yes,
amount?
you are locked into that. Unfortunately, it's not like a construction loan.
Right.
I think really overall, the contingency, we should work into the budget for next year in the CIP.
Mm-hmm.
And if that money is needed next year, it'll be there. If not, it'll be available in the CIP for projects the following year. And we're not paying any interest on it. And then the other monies, whatever the contingencies are, you take out, and that's probably about what the bond's for. But if you get a little bit closer, if you have a better recommendation.
Well, I do. The issue with at least the construction part is we need to get that done now before I don't know if you noticed in the itemized pricing, but one of those prices is to move the current dispatch center downstairs.
Right.
So that we can complete the project, and then we will install the new equipment after the remodeling is done. Therefore, I would like to start on that yet this year in December, as the street department is not busy, or I shouldn't say not busy. There might be more time available for them to complete that project than, say, in the spring when they're getting ready for the pool and this, that, and the other.
It makes sense, and plus then you'll have the old equipment that you're replacing put on gov deals, right?
There you go.
It makes them back.
In contingency, we're talking about close to $75,000.
Yeah.
And that's what you'd take off, and so it'd be closer to,
Closer to.
If the
Yeah.
council is comfortable with that, we'll remove any miscellaneous, like construction costs, and we'll also remove the contingency, and we'll get a bond proposal back to you as soon as possible. I don't know how fast they work, if it would be possible for them.
but it'd still be prudent to make sure that money is in the CIP and not encumbered for, anything else in the CIP for next year.
We'll evaluate as we finalize the 2018 budget and
Okay.
make sure that it gets in the right spot.
Do we need legislation to proceed with the issuance of the bond, or?
Sure.
Okay. So-
Right.
Bond council prepares that, okay. And then that'll be brought to council and go from there.
Correct.
Okay. All right, now,
I just,
think you're still,
one more item, maybe more. Last meeting, I did bring up about the cemetery board appointment. Did you look into that any further?
I was just looking at some of my information, and I think I need to get with the clerk to see, because my information is not up to date. And who currently serves?
Currently, it's Ron Klosterman,
Right.
Mrs. Howdeshell, and myself.
Okay,
I go off the board at the end of the year.
right.
Matt Kolb has already been elected by this body to serve for the next year, but Ron Klosterman did not run for reelection, and so there will have to be an appointment to
vacancy.
replace him for 1 year.
Right.
And that would be a township trustee
And it would have to be done,
before the end of the year,
Before the
so
end.
they can take office the first. And the reason I met with Mr. O'Brien today, because he's got to get some papers and things signed for financial reasons.
we could get with the township trustees and perhaps have a joint meeting. The first meeting in December, and hopefully that'd be December the 5th. We could meet at 7 o'clock like we normally do in May, and have a joint meeting with this council and the trustees for the Greenville Union Cemetery Board to fill that one vacancy. By that time, should will the new electees be certified? They should be. Okay, so then we would have someone specifically that could be appointed. Okay. I think let's do that. And I'll ask the clerk to contact the township trustees and tell them that, especially in this dilemma, that we must fill that position so that person's ready to go.
That is December 5th at 7 o'clock.
Yes.
Okay.
And we'll talk about it next council meeting, plus notice will be given.
I pass.
President Burkett?
I'm not gonna try to follow that. We'll just continue on here, so,
Motion to
Motion to
adjourn?
adjourn.
I'd just like to thank everybody for coming. Wish the very best to all those running. There'll only be 3 new people, so. Anyway, motion by Mrs. Howdeshell to adjourn. Call the roll.
Godwin?
Yes.
Hensley?
Yes.
Powdershell?
Yes.
Oliver?
Yes.
Rogers?
Yes.
Schmidt?
Yes.
Tryon?
Yes.
Thank you and good night.